Breaking news, drug kingpin Sebastian Marset faces severe money laundering charges in a U.S. court today after an intense global manhunt. Stay tuned.
Have you ever wondered, how did a powerful Godfather, the mastermind manipulating a transcontinental drug trafficking machine and a money laundering network worth tens of millions of dollars collapse after years of sowing terror? Today, we will decode the dark files of Sebastian Enrique Marset Cabrera, one of the most highly sought-after global fugitives. What fatal mistake caused this giant octopus tentacle to be severed by the very banking system they exploited before stepping into this breathtaking manhunt? What do you think is the biggest weakness of underworld empires? Leave a comment below hit. Like and subscribe to the channel so we can bring the darkest corners into the light together. In a solemn courtroom located in the city of Alexandria in the U.S. state of Virginia, a landmark event took place attracting the attention of the media and the public everywhere. The presence of one of the most prominent figures of the underworld in the dock sent an incredibly powerful message that no one is above the law. This event concluded an intense manhunt that lasted for years across continents and vast oceans. At the same time, it opened the door for the light of justice to shine into the darkest corners of the underground financial system. The man who had to bow before the law today is Sebastian Enrique Marset Cabrera, a name that once sowed terror and instability in many countries from South America to Europe. At the age of 34, when many are still striving to build an honest career, this Uruguayan national chose a long downward slide into crime. He was not a minor isolated link, but the supreme mastermind directly running a massive criminal empire named the Marset Drug Trafficking Organization. The sophistication and ruthlessness of this organization made him a top target for manhunts by many nations. The danger level of the network led by Marset was so great that in May 2025, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration had to place his name on its list of most wanted fugitives. This decision not only reflected the massive scale of the criminal organization, but also showed the ironclad determination of authorities to pull evil up by its roots. The administrator of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, Ms. Ann Milgram, once emphasized that bringing this dangerous enemy to light is a vital victory for regional and global security. The records and documents submitted to the court exposed a horrifying truth about the logistical scale and distribution capacity of this shadow organization. Far from fragmented small-scale rings, Marset's empire was systematically organized like a multinational corporation with shipments spreading white death, amounting to tens of tons. This colossal volume of illicit goods was usually assembled from various sources in South America before undertaking long sea voyages to infiltrate the lucrative consumer markets in the old continent of Europe. To smoothly operate such a massive volume of illegal goods, Marset established a network of operatives extending octopus tentacles across many national borders and territories. Investigative agencies exposed allegations that his network operated extremely aggressively in a series of South American countries, including Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Brazil. Through sophisticated tactics and underground connections, they turned peaceful lands into transit points for shipments filled with crime. After crossing stormy oceans, the illicit goods continued to be distributed through European gateways such as Belgium, the Netherlands, Portugal, and countless other undisclosed secret locations. To protect the organization's core interests and maintain the operation of the illegal money printing machine, Marset and his accomplices did not hesitate to use the most vicious methods. They were ready to threaten use violence and eliminate any individual or force that dared to stand in their way on the path to illicit wealth. From this painful reality, we can clearly see the disastrous consequences that transnational criminal organizations cause to the development of humanity. They not only destroy health and corrupt social morality, but also drain resources and weaken the economic foundations of many countries. Every single ill-gotten dime they collect carries the trade-off of the sweat tears and brokenness of countless innocent families. Therefore, preventing and dismantling these networks is a deeply humanitarian mission. The biggest lesson we need to engrave in our hearts is the role of education and community cohesion in creating a solid shield to protect the younger generation. Only when every family, school, and the whole of society joins hands to build a healthy living environment will deadly temptations have no chance to infiltrate. If you find that these stories and lessons bring profound human values, please hit like and subscribe to the channel so we can together spread messages that protect a peaceful life. Returning to the developments of the special case, one of the biggest challenges for large-scale criminal gangs is how to launder massive profits reeking of crime. To solve this tough puzzle, Marset did not hesitate to splash cash to recruit the most cunning minds in the underground financial sector. He was accused of exploiting loopholes in the systems of financial institutions in the United States to launder millions of dollars in illicit profits. The person directly manipulating and operating this massive money laundering machine was a close aide of his. This prominent figure is named Federico Ezequiel Santoro Vasallo, a name that makes the underground financial world wary and is often known by the powerful alias Capitan. Santoro is not a common thug or hitman, but a transnational money laundering expert possessing an incredibly meticulous and cold-blooded calculating mind. With a secret operational headquarters located in Paraguay, Santoro acted as a heart-pumping financial blood for Marset's entire criminal ecosystem. His core mission was to provide specialized financial services to facilitate the most favorable conditions for moving millions of dollars in cash from European countries back to South America. The tactic used by Santoro and his accomplices was an incredibly sophisticated combination of traditional underground money transfer methods and the convenience of the modern banking system. Santoro's network was responsible for arranging the collection of cash from illicit retail rings in a highly secretive and professional manner. They used a massive force of couriers and applied special tokens to conduct the secret delivery and receipt of a colossal volume of illegal currency. In these shadow transactions, the primary currency used for payment was the euro due to its popularity and high value in the European market. After the suitcases of cash were successfully collected, Santoro's group of accomplices, which included corrupted financial experts, would begin executing the risky infiltration step. Their mission was to slip this illegal currency past control barriers to enter the global banking system as smoothly as possible. Once the dirty money was safely sitting in bank accounts, Santoro would wave the magic wand of a conductor, directly directing the circulation of these funds across international borders. This process was usually carried out through countless complex forms of bank transfers to wipe out all traces of the cash flow's origin. However, the net of heaven is vast. Its meshes are wide, but nothing escapes them. The key element constituting the crime and also their fatal mistake was directly related to the U.S. financial system. Santoro frequently required these funds to be dispersed in U.S. dollars to easily consume and invest them in the Americas region. This conversion and transaction process mandated the participation of a correspondent bank in the United States to facilitate the completion of international wire transfers. It was exactly the exploitation of these correspondent banks that inadvertently handed the U.S. justice system the legal jurisdiction to prosecute, investigate, and hunt down the ringleaders of the network. At this point, allow me to pose a first open question for you to ponder. What kind of technologies and monitoring processes do global financial institutions need to equip themselves with to cleanse themselves against the sophisticated attacks of these filthy cash flows? The massive scale of this money laundering machine was clearly demonstrated by investigators through the unraveling of one specific, highly shady transaction. According to the case files in January 2021, Marset's organization was anxiously waiting to collect a massive debt of over 17 million euros. More astonishingly, this entire colossal amount was just the profit obtained from a single smuggling shipment, showing the hyper-profitable nature of the underworld. In this monstrous operation, the alias Capitan personally had to step forward to orchestrate the collection and proceed to launder at least 5 million euros of that massive total. The criminal group believed that with their sophisticated cover-up tactics, they could bypass the authorities to turn this money into legal assets. The vast majority of this 5 million euros was laundered by exploiting and shuffling it back and forth within the U.S. banking system. However, their cover-up efforts could not evade the sharp professional skills and tireless work ethic of the financial investigators. Santoro's illegal activities were finally unmasked, bringing the dark aspects of the organization out into the light of justice. Facing the ironclad evidence and undeniable money transfer orders from law enforcement agencies, he knew he had no way back. On May 21, 2025, Santoro had to bow his head and plead guilty before the court. Just a few months later, on July 23, 2025, the man who once wreaked havoc in the underground financial world had to receive a fitting sentence of 15 years in prison. This severe sentence marked the complete collapse of one of the most crucial links in the criminal ecosystem of the kingpin Marset. The downfall of Capitan is a powerful testament to the principle that all crimes, no matter how they are covered up with glamorous facades, will eventually have to pay a heavy price. From the collapse of this money laundering ring, we are even more aware of the importance of transparency and honesty in all socio-economic activities. A healthy economy can only be built on the foundation of clean capital flows and businesses operating in compliance with the law. The fight against money laundering crimes not only protects the stability of the financial system, but is also an act of protecting the value of every person's honest labor. Returning to the mastermind, the capture of a formidable and highly manipulative boss like Sebastian Enrique Marset Cabrera was not the result of an accidental or isolated action. It is the crystallization and fruit of an unprecedented international cooperative effort transcending all barriers of language, culture, and geographical boundaries. Recognizing the extreme danger Marset posed to global security authorities, decided to deploy the strongest levers to gather intelligence. In May 2025, the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs of the U.S. Department of State made a strategic decision. Working closely with the Department of Justice, they announced a massive reward of up to $2 million through the Transnational Organized Crime Rewards Program. This huge sum of money was promised to any courageous individual who provided decisive information leading to the capture and conviction of the kingpin Marset. Prior to this, in 2023, the Bolivian government, one of the nations heavily impacted by this network, had also offered a reward of $100,000 in their sweeping efforts. These bold moves not only demonstrated the uncompromising determination of governments, but also served as a deep psychological blow-shaking loyalty within the criminal organization. It shows the power of international coordination in mobilizing all resources to eradicate evil. The incredibly complex and extensive investigation leading to Marset's presence in a U.S. court was led by top experts. The Bilateral Investigations Unit of the Special Operations Division of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration acted as the vanguard in this historic special case. However, this special case could not have achieved success without the extensive expert support and seamless coordination from a series of key agencies globally. In the U.S., the case received incredibly effective backing from the Department of Justice's Office of International Affairs, which provided solid legal foundations for extradition activities. The task force in New York, along with the Combat-Ready Aviation Division, also contributed tireless efforts in tracking and scouting targets. The Diplomatic Security Service and the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs of the U.S. State Department also played pivotal roles in maintaining diplomatic pressure. On the international plane, the effort to capture Marset truly created a bridge linking law enforcement agencies from the Americas stretching all the way to Europe. Crucial and indispensable partners included the U.S. Embassy in Bolivia, the Bolivian Minister of Government, and the National Intelligence Unit of the Bolivian National Police. The local knowledge and valuable intelligence from these South American partners contributed significantly to tightening the net around the fugitive. European police forces also participated extremely actively in the operation to thoroughly dismantle his illicit goods consumption network on this continent. Moreover, the network of country offices of the anti-drug forces in the South American region had to operate at maximum capacity for a long time. The offices located in Bogotá, Colombia, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Asunción, Paraguay, along with Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, created a dense intelligence net. Returning to the main character after being successfully extradited to the United States, the case of Sebastian Enrique Marset Cabrera is currently being rigorously processed. This historic trial is taking place at the Federal District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia, which possesses a highly rigorous justice system with the case number carefully filed in federal records. The heavy responsibility of prosecuting and proving the guilt of the head of this notorious drug organization is entrusted to outstanding law enforcement officials. Two talented and highly experienced assistant U.S. attorneys, Mr. Anthony T. Amanoff and Ms. Catherine Rosenberg, are working day and night to bring justice. With incredibly serious charges related to money laundering conspiracy, if convicted by a jury, Marset will face a sentence of up to 20 years behind bars. A sentence long enough to strip away the rest of the life of a man who once sowed so much pain and loss upon his fellow human beings. However, according to the deeply humane and progressive core principle of the U.S. justice system, the current indictment is merely an initial accusation. The defendant, Sebastian Enrique Marset Cabrera, still enjoys the presumption of innocence until prosecutors can prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt in court. The final sentence will be decided by a federal district court judge based on a highly careful consideration of the factors. Families, schools, and society need to create a solid shield to protect the young sprouts of the future from the pitfalls of the underworld. Allow me to close the article with a third open question for you to contemplate for yourselves. How do we need to forge our inner strength to constantly uphold core moral values in the face of the era's vortex of temptations? Don't forget to spread these good life values to everyone around you so that our community becomes more and more civilized. Hopefully, through this true and highly educational story, each of us can draw profound lessons for ourselves. Always live and work in accordance with the law, staying away from vain material temptations that can destroy an entire life. Don't forget to spread these good values to the people around you. Once again, sincerely thank you for watching. Remember to hit like and subscribe to the channel to continue tuning in to the next meaningful stories.